When you look at the year of 2020 and you try to figure out what was predictable about 2020, I would say the unpredictability of 2020 was what was predictable, if that makes any sense. 2020 will go down as the year of COVID. And what we really saw happen through the year is that we really went from a services country, meaning going on vacation, going on cruises. We went from services to goods because we really couldn't go anywhere. And what we ended up doing was do a lot of shopping. And it's something that we've really seen through 2020. And the way it affected the global logistics to me was really, it was amazing. As the year started, we were still adapting to the Section 301 tariffs that were put in place in March of 2018. So the import community was just trying to still figure out, how do we take a 25%, now 30% tariff that basically was put on $250 billion worth of goods? How do we manage that? Are we going to absorb it? Are we going to pass it to our end consumers? So that was really the start of the year. And then we saw COVID hit. China went down and shut down for 6 weeks. And really everyone was set in the global community on, hey, what's going to happen? The steamship lines were now all of a sudden really stuck and said, hey, what do we do with all of this capacity? We have all of these vessels that need to sail. We have all of these sailings. Are we just going to sail? What they did really amazing for the first time in the history of I would say in shipping, is that they did a great job in controlling the capacity. So they were using blank sailings. They really managed to work within their alliances to help control the capacity. So as the country began to finally wake up and emerge from COVID, we saw 2020 come back roaring, that now all of a sudden you have all of this PPE equipment that needs to be shipped into the United States. We see inventories that are starting to replenish. So from going from no sailings to now all of a sudden there is a big constraint on capacity. It's difficult to get on board. Importers were faced on rates that went 3 times higher than they were successfully negotiated. October, to give you an idea, in Los Angeles, we had the most amount of containers ever shipped in a single period. It was over 980,000 containers shipped into the port of Los Angeles. The most challenging part of 2020 was definitely the capacity of managing the freight volumes that were coming back into the country. And what we learned was that the clients, the importers, the shippers who actually wanted to pay the most were the ones that were getting the space. If someone would have said prior to COVID that this would be a record year for profits for steamship companies, or right when, let's say, COVID hit, everybody would have predicted there's no way this can be actually record years. But the majority of the steamship companies will post record profits this year because they've been able to control their space and they've been able to see rate increases. The spot market actually became 3 to 4 times higher than the contracted yearly rates for BCOs for forwarders. So the biggest challenge that the shippers saw was being able, number one, not only to get space, but trying to get that space at a competitive market rate, which was very difficult for 2020. It's continuing now, and I think you'll see this continue at least well into the Q1 of next year. The way NFI truly helped our clients is, number one, we have boots in the ground in Asia. Being able to work the spot market was so important this year that we actually won many new clients because we were able to secure space on different carriers and different services that, let's say, a normal shipper importer did not have those options. So by having boots on the ground and by having the flexibility to look at different services, different options was number one key to being able to provide a solution. Next, what we were able to really, I think, successfully do well is that we were now able to bring things into Los Angeles and use all of our port services, our cross docking. We were able to use our freight brokerage division to actually now expedite goods that have been, let's say, coming into that needed to come into the U.S. that now needed a expedite over to the East Coast. So by having our own port services, our own drayage, by having our own warehouses that could work the cargo, this was a huge advantage because we were able to be more fluid and we were able to provide out-of-the-box solutions that were serving customers all across the United States.